Okay, so I did something I've worked on. This is like my fifth game I've worked on, and this is the first time I have done concept art on pen and pad. Well, actually, it was pencil, but I haven't done it before because when I first started doing art, I did pixel art. So I said, hey, I can do better pixel art than I can do drawing. Like, so why don't I just jump to the pixel art? Well, I decided to go ahead and give the drawing a shot. Partly because I started taking drawing classes, and then also because I was pretty frustrated with my progress. Hadn't really gotten anything that I like except for our character art. And what I found was that as I started drawing and getting into it, the benefits were more than just communicating ideas, which was definitely a benefit. But other benefits were that I was able to, it kind of like sparked my creativity, and it started making the world come alive to me. So once I started drawing, lore of the world started building in my head. I started thinking of details that I wouldn't think of while working on pixel art, and the story also started forming in my head a little bit. And now I just started this process. I only have like 3 drawings done, but I was surprised about that. And the other benefit was communication. So, I work with Sean, my partner, and he does the development and the initial level design, and we do a back and forth. Well, what I found was that doing these drawings helped him understand more what I was thinking in my head. So there was like lots of benefits. So I'm pretty excited about it. In fact, I probably would rather be drawing on the pad today than doing this. But marketing is also part of my job. So getting out there and talking to people about our game and streaming is a great opportunity for that. So I'm going out today as a practice in turning a drawing into a tile set, and not putting the pressure on myself to say that this tile set necessarily has to go with our game. Like this may not be the tile set that we use, but just, hey, this is just translating a drawing into a tile set, which it's kind of funny because my first drawing that I did was, I have the one up on the screen that I'm gonna do now, but the first drawing, I was actually trying to do what I've been trying to do on in Aseprite, which is this one, which I kind of like this one a lot, but after drawing it out, I was like, dude, this is going to be such a pain to do in a tile set to get the twistiness and everything, and it also didn't really have the fun look I was going for. I wanted it to be more whimsical, and by drawing it out, I finally just realized that, yeah, that's not what I want. So I thought that was pretty cool too. I mean, my drawings aren't, I wouldn't say they're good or anything, but they're helping me think things through. So that was the other thing, like, I learned that concept art doesn't have to be good. It just really needs to help me think an idea through, spark my creativity, and then also help communicate ideas. So, every YouTuber says like, oh, you should do concept art. And I just said, oh, I'm not a real artist. I don't need to do that. So, lesson learned there. Processes are important. So, I have the picture up that I'm going to do. Now that one, I actually have the interior of the home shown, but I anticipate that we're going to have doors, so it's kind of a peek through. But what I'm going to start with is the ground itself, and then I have our tiles up, and I also have a palette that I'm using. I've been using gray and black and white, but colors are more fun, even though colors are hard. And I need to put some music on. And then also, just as a reminder, we are working on a platformer for the GBA. And if you're into those kind of games, be sure to follow the pre-launch page for our Kickstarter. And if you want to follow the development, you can follow us. And then if you go to itch, you can see all the games that we have. We have a couple free ones and one fully released paid one. So there's a little bit for everybody there. All right, music. Hello, mister. Hey, Jackie. I need to get my little robot over here too. I hope everyone's having an awesome day. Yep, just proof that Sean does things. He does. He definitely does things. We'll slowly get together, one piece at a time. Have fun studying. Have great success at it. It's always nice to see you. Well, thank you, Akita. You're not gonna flunk, Jackie. I will it not to happen. You're gonna do better than you expect. Just get away from all the distractions. Get down and focus. You're smart. You got this. I believe in you, Jackie. I'm not sure how I feel about those. I think what I really want is or better yet, it'd be L. So what I'm trying to communicate is these little cup mushrooms. And they're not really, they're just coming off as flat. So I'm gonna trying them in a different way. And then Honestly, I like this texture more than anything else. I like that. Now we're getting somewhere. I don't hate that. Okay. I'm gonna move this then. Well, no, it's... Shit. Maybe that's what I want to do. I think I want to make that just... Um, let's do the tree. So what I'm thinking about is I'm basing a lot of this off of lichen, which is a fungus and an algae. Sometimes it's like a bacteria too that grow together in some symbiotic relationship. So I'm trying to think if I'm considering that blue-gray as part of the organism or if it's just supposed to be dry earth. Let's try some shading on it. Maybe that'll make it make more sense. that. All right, I know. I don't really hate any of that. It's good not to hate it. What do you look like on a little dude? I'm just gonna... It would actually sit there. And I also feel that maybe. That's what we're doing. It's definitely what we're doing. Oops, that's right too. All right, I'm good with all that. I'm gonna merge it down. I would have to... bit. The rest of this could be... that could be reused. Realize this one does not match the lighting on this other one. Actually be... Now the lighting logic matches. So that would mean these need to be reversed. That's right. All right, let's get some bendy ones in here. I'm digging this. All right, so I need a bigger versions of these platforms. So make some more ground. Just see what it looks like. It's pretty cool too. I can just do that to make it more interesting. Actually. And oh shit, this is wrong. It's got to line up. This is really what I should be working directly in tiles now, but well, this is there. B, L. It's going a lot better, Art of Dying. It definitely is. I'm getting somewhere. Should have drawn it on paper a long time ago. I'm using colors and all, man. Well, you know, that's part of the... So I really wanted twisty and vines and all this other kind of stuff, but after I drew out that other like finished that other drawing, I realized it wasn't gonna work. No, different. It's a different AAP palette. This one I found on low spec today. Let me pull it up. It's good though. I like it. It's by the same artist. It's ADP's Radiant? No. Hold up. It's got more colors. It's like 90 something colors. Radiant Plus. This person is pretty awesome. They do really good color mappings for their palettes. AAP has it, AAP 64. I don't know if he has it for this one. Yeah, that's kind of why I went with it. It's definitely more vibrant. But when I did this drawing, I like thought about, okay, I'm gonna have to tile it. So can I make it more, tile friendly? But then I also started kind of just playing with the lore of the world some more too, and started thinking, well, if these people grow their own homes, like they would be more, maybe less organic looking. So like more right angles, things like that. Ooh, that's a good idea. Then you wouldn't be, I don't know, like easier one to find them. And also less likely to get distracted. I don't know how I feel about that, but that's good enough for now. But I definitely like vibrant for sure. Right? It's funny, we were talking, my sister and I, my brother-in-law were talking about all of our parents are like, I want some land. I want, acres and stuff. And all of us are kind of like, just want to live in a hole, less responsibility, less things to talk about. I would love to have a home I could grow and just live in a little hovel. I don't want any grass to mow for sure. All right. I need to figure out how to turn this into a house now. Was it really a Hobbit home? I've read somewhere that where the original Lord of the Rings was filmed, that the guy who owned it leveled everything afterwards. Oh, that sounds cool. Same number of tiles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Same amount. Okay, good. Let's make it go. Let's do points. I don't know. I've always liked the idea of living in a round home. I don't know where that comes from. I don't even know if I've ever been in a round home, but like a yurt. I think it would be pretty sweet to live in a yurt. Wait, how many did I count? Yeah, I was in New Zealand, yeah. He didn't want people coming and messing up his farmland, I think. Meanwhile, I'm like, dude, you could do an Airbnb. That was before, that, yeah, Hobbitland. Hobbitat. So I think I'm going to do layers for this. I think I'm going to do what I drew, and then I'm going to draw on top of that to make the interior. To make my life easier. I say easier, but at the same time, no, I can do this. This is fine. I'll just do one side. How was the Breaking Bad house cursed? So like cursed by tourists? I have to say, I lived in a house, last place I lived was on a tour locally. Oh, throwing pizza on it? That's bad. That's just rude, man. So, why is that not? Oh, because it's one less crap. Okay. So, anyway, so we lived in a place that was on a tour. So the place that we live in Macon, there's a tour called Lights on Macon where people go through and look at all the historic homes. And our house that we lived in, we rented an apartment, and it's one of these houses where someone turned an old house into apartments. And it was an old house. It was built in like 1840, I think. I think it was built in 1840. And anyway, so it was like, on this tour, and we would have people just like go up on our front porch, and we'd be sitting on our couch. Like when you had these big, massive windows, since it was an old home, we had like the floor to ceiling windows. And we'd have windows open so dogs could see out and stuff, and people just be on the porch taking pictures, and we're just kind of like, hey, what's up? It was a little weird. So I can imagine like Yeah, so I can kind of get it. I can kind of get why someone would not want to necessarily, we rented. We could always leave. But if it's your forever home, maybe that would not be so much fun. I can't believe people leave pizza though. Like, I don't understand people sometimes, man. I just don't. I don't get people. I don't understand meanness. I mean, I guess I do. Usually when people are mean, it's because someone is really mean to them, which kind of sucks. But I've had people be mean to me, and I've never been like, I've never thought, you know what? I want to make someone feel as crappy as I feel right now. But people handle things in different ways, I guess. I'm gonna leave that for now. I don't like that one anyway. I'm going to skip this song. I've heard it 8,000 times. Oh, I just realized too I don't have the music on where people can see it. Probably I never had music going on in the first place. Oh well. People are people. That's a good way to put it. Oh my gosh. You're at the halfway point? Dude, where did they put in the thing about where the halfway points are? I still haven't seen that. Oh, I've got opinions too. I'm looking forward to it. I'll be honest. I'm not sure I would be still reading if I was not doing this for book club. Which is funny because since it is my book. It's very preachy so far, in my opinion. If you want to cheat and share your opinions now. Yeah! Dude, I was thinking the same thing. I was like, okay, I get it. Like, that's a good way to put it. Like, the plot is not, it doesn't have me sucked in at all. Like, the ideas are interesting, kinda. But I'm like, come on, entertain me a little bit, please. But yeah. I mean, it's funny too, like, I've been thinking as well about, like, different times of things being written, so this was written in the 70s. And I'm noticing, like, I was asking myself again, why did I love Terry Pratchett when I was a teenager and I can't get through the books now? And I'm wondering too if it's just way people write is different now. Like, one, like these 8,000 long chapters. And I know you do audio, so this may not like affect you in the same way, but I can't stand the fact that there's like not good stopping points made. I'm like, come on, man, I don't have all day to read. Like, I need a good stopping point. So that's like one complaint. I don't know. Yeah, to me, it reads more like a philosopher's thought experiment, which, I mean, the book is a thought experiment, than a, a novel. But I'm definitely disappointed, I'll be honest. I'm like... And it's not even what I was looking for. Like, I told ChatGPT that I wanted, like, alien utopias, and I'm like, I don't know if I'd even consider this that. Like, they're still humanoid. It's not that foreign. Alright, so the top of this... Let's try just doing this rotating. Yeah, I'm so glad that I didn't, I was like, maybe I'll suggest this for series book club. I'm so glad now. But you said you liked... Man, it's a bummer. I'll say, like... There's a few books I've gone back and reread, and from, like, that I used to love from back in the day, and I'm like, this isn't good anymore. Like, what kind of crap is this? Oh god, I used to have to read it's a long story about Lord of the Rings and me. You said Earthsea, like that was the other one that y'all read of hers. And you liked it. Yeah, it's not capturing me. You're right. That's a good way to put it. I'm just not sucked in at all. I'm just like, ugh. I get it. Like, everyone's bad. Power corrupts. Maybe it'll turn around. I don't know. But, I mean, there's even, like... I'm not at the halfway point. You said you're at the halfway point already? Yeah, like, she's, like, one of the highly recommended sci-fi, authors and stuff, and I'm just not feeling it. I feel like everyone needs to update their... I don't know, suggestions. Like, stuff that was good 50 years ago is just not good anymore. We've changed. I don't know, Sean and I were like, before we read the book, I was like, okay, here's the thought experiment. And we were trying to, like, kind of go through it and think or whatever, like, okay, how would this go? You know, how would we run a anarchist utopia? Is that possible? And like, I mean, not that we're brilliant or anything, but like, I couldn't come up with like everything kind of ran the way it seems that the book's running. Alas, Babylon was one, like a foundational, I mean, like, you know, classic book that I just don't dig anymore. How am I doing this? I went back and reread it, and I used to think that it was good and it was progressive because it had, oh, it has women in it, and no, we're definitely hierarchical. And I have to be honest too, I kept on thinking about the Uli. Yeah, I was like, as soon as I got into it, I was like, oh God, I don't think I'm gonna like this. I kind of did it on purpose because I know I like the other book for book club. Like, I read it, so I'm like, I know I'm gonna tear through this as soon as I start. So I started with this one to like make sure I read it in time. I think I'm almost to the halfway point. I think I just finished up, I'm like halfway through chapter 6 now, and I think at the end of chapter 7 is the halfway. This isn't what I was going for. I really want these to be one tile. These are going to be solid, so these really need to be one tile wide. Alas, Babylon. I think it was written in the 50s about nuclear war. And it's interesting because it's kind of like about the people and what happened after nuclear war. And it was set in Florida, which I found interesting, you know, as a kid because I was, you know, I lived in Florida, so I was like, ooh, this is cool. But yeah, no, it's not doing it for me. Alas. Yeah, and at the time when I was a kid, I thought it was like, oh, it's progressive. There's premarital sex in it. No, it's not progressive at all. It's actually quite terrible. Which is funny because it just shows what my own maturity is evolved. Yeah, I'm just gonna have to make my own. I wouldn't, I mean, it's short. I can tell you, I mean, it's short. That's good. No, I haven't. What are some books? Like how great? Great. If you ignore the flaws. uh, yeah, definitely go back and read some old stuff. Sometimes you're just like, do I? Yeah, yeah. Every now and then I'm just like, can we just change the rules of the game? We're using this like 8x7 tile and it's just not, it's not my favorite. Oh. It is odd. It is odd. It's not really something done. I'm not digging it. It makes things... I mean, we can change it. We're not, like, it's still something we can change if we want. But I'm not a fan of it. We thought maybe by doing a tile set that was a different, like, something different from the norm, that maybe the game would look stylized, like the style would look different, just, and it would be more of like a subconscious thing. I don't think it actually does that. I don't think it, I think just one tile off. What, last pixel? I don't know, light delay sucks. Alright, this needs to go the other way. But it's just kind of an experiment, I guess. I mean, I'm not going to be negative Nancy over it. You can always make changes. But yeah, it's definitely weird. But now if we changed it, I'd have to make changes to the sprite, which is okay. We're just like still in the beginning stages, so it's okay. Trying to get into game dev. Yeah. Ooh, do you program? I mean, my tip would be find a team. Find somebody to work with. My husband and I work together. So, are you an artist? Straight beginner. You like to play games, you just want to make games. I would start with learning how games are made. They're a lot of work. You know, it's kind of one of those things where you're like, oh, that looks cool. And then you learn like, oh, wait, it's a crap ton of work. That's game dev. So I would start with learning how games work and then focusing on an interest or focusing on an area that you think you can do. So trying to learn to make a game from scratch with no experience with programming or anything else, I wouldn't recommend it. But if you really wanted to learn to program, I think there's Scratch. It would be a good place to start. Or you could sit down and try to learn an engine, which I can't give you any help on that because we do everything ourselves. We don't use an engine. But yeah, I would mainly start with finding an outlet. And then the other tip I would have is don't try to make something complicated. Don't be like, oh, I'm going to go make this RPG and have all these things. Like, make a Pong game. You know, make something super simple as you can make it, and then build from there. Because when you take on some big, massive project, there's just too much room to get discouraged and then just throw the whole thing away. There you go. Art Dying's on it too. Good suggestions. But other options too. Oh, another good suggestion is when you do get to the point where you're like, okay, I know how to make a game. I made a Pong game. Game jams are really, really great. They teach you how to get something done. And they also teach you all the components that are needed within a game. Like sometimes you just don't think of this stuff. You know, I mean, you're like, oh, I got this, but then you're like, oh, I got to do UI, and I've got to do this, and I've got to do a home screen, and I got to, you know, everything starts adding up. And if you're interested in doing art for games, again, game jams are a great place. A lot of them will have places to make teams or find teams and teammates. And there's a lot of people that need people making art for the games. Now, I will say that's a lot of work too. Sean and I were talking the other day, and he was like, he said he started thinking about all the work that I have to do. And he's like, you got a lot of work to do. And I'm like, yeah, I know I have a lot of work to do. Yeah. But again, I would say find a team, someone to work with, someone to help you, encourage you when you're getting down and you want to quit. This is why I don't want to do the 8x7 is hard, so I made this tile and I was like, oh, I'll just rotate it and I'll use it horizontally, but I can't because it's one tile too long. But yeah, it's not, programming isn't necessary. I don't program. Like, I found a good teammate. And that's how we do stuff. This is terrible too. I need to delete that song. Oh, other suggestion I would say, don't get into game dev thinking for the money. Definitely don't do it for the money. Oh yeah, there's like all sorts of things. Oh wait, I'm not even paying attention to what I'm doing. Which we don't have rotation in tiles anyway. That's just me being a lazy artist. We'll have flipping, but not rotating. So I can flip vertically and horizontally, but not no rotating. It's funny. It's funny making games for in the way that we make them. I was talking with a friend of mine who's a dev, and he doesn't do game dev though, and I was explaining to him how like I got mad at Sean because my sprite was the wrong size, and I had to go redo it. And he's like, "Well, why can't you just resize it?" And I'm like, I can't resize it though. Like, I'm as low as I can get. Let's get rid of this. Yeah. But you're saying like, yeah, you didn't think of that. I can't tell how many times I've run into issues where I'm like, oh, well, that's a problem I didn't see. How'd that go? That's good. Yeah, it's funny. You know, you got the pixel art aesthetic, and then you've got like legit pixel art. And there's definitely a difference. Like a lot of people like to reference, I think Stardew Valley as a great pixel art game, but he messes with the resolution too. Like it's pixel art, but then it's like resized, so it's not quite, you know, it's not quite right. And it looks cool. It's definitely a neat look, but it's not like traditional pixel art. It's not, you're not holding yourself to the same restrictions, which I'm not saying one's better than the other. It's just different ways of doing things. Yeah, that's what we did. We have a video somewhere where we were talking about our process, our game making process, and we used that. We actually used it for an example on how music is done in the GBA and why it sounds so bad. I don't like that. I don't like these lines, these dots, but oh well. I'm just gonna say that's it for now. Yeah, there's definitely a difference. Once you get into the tile, like, and I think that's also what kind of helped me start thinking, because like when I start working in Aseprite and I start thinking about tiles and actual tile sets, I start restricting my creativity because I'm like, oh, how is it going to work this way? And I'm kind of running into a block now, which I may take a break, because one thing I'm thinking about is I mean, it's not just the size that, you know, you think about, because I would have these same problems, you know, anytime working with a tile set. So, like, we have solids, so where the player cannot go, that is exactly one tile wide. So, that means, let's say we have a place that is a solid, like, I can't, that's why this has to look the way it does, because I'm thinking if it's a solid, and it's not going to work with how I was imagining this drawing to work. So in the picture, I was imagining that the solid tile would actually end on the floor, so that way the character looks like they walk on the floor. So here, let me get my little robot. Where you at, guy? All right. So right now, the character would walk like right there. But in my head, I would have the character more like here, I guess. And I would have a ground. So this is where well, I need to be on this one. But then I would actually have this be lower. So a better example of it, let me take this little dude down below. That's how I did the ground down here. So down here, I'm imagining like where he is now, or the robot is now, this is where the solid tile is. So this here that I've highlighted, this would be a solid tile. So the character cannot go through that. Now, how I did the art, it looks like the character is on this pathway, but this right here, even though it looks like the same as this part here, this would be a background tile here, from here up, so the character can walk in front of, and here down is a solid tile that the character cannot walk in front of. So, but how I did the art, it kind of gives some dimensionality to the image, rather than the character being directly on top of the land like you would see in like Super Mario 3. Because that's how I would like it to look. Well, then where the issue comes in is if I have my solid tile is a single tile. Well, now I'm like, I would have to make this super thin. I would have to make it like, I could probably do it like this. Yeah, so my options here, I mean, the only way I can think of it is like making this more narrow, or not having having something completely separate for single tiled or solids that are single tile wide. So it gets to the point where like it's not art anymore. Now it's like a math problem, you know? Which, I mean, that's not terrible. It's not horrible right there. Like, I mean, that's a little bit closer to what I'm looking for. I would still prefer it to be lower. Yeah, and so one option would be is so other options, like you said, doing like a half tile, I could make it so maybe the character can go in front, well, it would go in front. Like if I did, I could do something like this. But the character, like, let's say they're out here jumping around, they could actually have their head come over that piece. Which, depending on where it is in the game, that may not necessarily be a terrible thing. Which it may not be a terrible thing, because I'm thinking out loud right now how this is going to work. Like, the character can walk in front of these. Like this stalk the character can move in front of. And really what I'm imagining is when the character is here inside the house, like really we're only going to see the interior anyway. So the character wouldn't be able to go outside. So I maybe I could. And the other thing too is when the character's inside of something, as solids all around, I really only, like, if they can't access that outside, then I can make it look at anything I want it to look like. So the latter one adds like 2 or 3 times as many iterations where various corners and backgrounds and whatnot happen. Yeah, that's when things start getting complicated, for sure. Yeah. Yeah, like, yeah, also that. So I like this look, but yeah, it's way more complicated than if I had just done like this solid here. When it's one solid tile, I can reuse corners. I could use these corners in all 4 corners. But when I get to the point that it's like, oops. I'm simplifying it now, but you know, let's say it's like this. Yeah, now things are complicated. I could still no, yep, I can't. I can use the inside corners, but it's definitely more tiles. Gosh darn it. It's more tiles, and it does start getting more complicated. So now you can see instead of a corner being a single tile, a corner is actually 2 tiles, the interior corner and the exterior corner. So yeah. And in fact, it probably would be easier for me to do the start in a simplified manner like this and then add the details and stuff. But I really just need to think more about it. But I feel good about how far I got now. So yeah, I think I may, it's 6, so I think I may call it quits. Yeah. Call it quits and think, but I feel pretty good about it. I mean, I dig the way that these look. And then I could also add like, you know, little things, you know, to kind of spice things up a little bit so it's not so repetitive. I would do the same thing here. This is very busy, but I think it's starting to communicate what I'm trying to communicate. And I wasn't too sure about these platforms, but I actually do like the look of them. Thanks, Art of Dying. Appreciate it. We'll get there. And these are gonna be fun. And I was thinking that so this is where I'm doing this now. This is a place where people have grown homes and everything like that out of this lichen that lives on the planet. You don't like this? All right, so how I organized this was based off of saturation. The original way that yeah, I was actually surprised how it was organized. It was pretty all over the place. But I want to keep saturation in mind, so I want more desaturated in the background. Saturated colors are platforms, things that the character can interact with, so they stand out more. So I kind of think, again, it changes. It goes from just art to also other things, you know? Like, hey, I would normally, if I was just drawing a pretty picture, I would use a different color than if I am making a game. So. Yeah, but I don't hate any of this, so I feel pretty good about it. I am gonna have to think about the single solids. Yeah, I'm also really lazy. And I don't want to organize 96 colors. Dude, Cactar! I've been wondering about you. I'm glad you're alive. You may or may not be Batman. Okay. By the way, Cacto, did you download the art from the GBA Art Jam? It's pretty exciting to see it in the final form. Yeah, it's 96 colors. Yeah. Doesn't look like that many, but once you get started. If you end up organizing it by Hugh, let me see it and send a screenshot. Maybe I'll copy you. What was the other thing I was going to do too? I was going to see what happens if I just place one of these directly on without a stem. Oh wait, they all have Why is that one different? Oh, I've got two different versions. That's no bueno. It's not gonna work. It's gonna be like that. wanted to see. Put this here. I'm gonna pull this one out more though. So it's not so close. I have to. Yeah, GBA fail one of the projects? How? Aww. That's cool that you're selling them though. That's working. That's awesome. Well, I hope something good comes to you after like that bad luck, Hector, because it was nice that you didn't. All right, I'm gonna look at that real quick, and then I gotta hop. It's 6. I got food to cook. Oh, that looks way nicer. You know, one of the things I've been thinking about doing as like an exercise, and again, like that's how the drawing started. I was like, I'm gonna do this as an exercise, and I was like, oh, this is why people do this. But is do color mapping. So do a color map of the palette that I end up using. This is an interesting palette. There's a lot of colors that are kind of similar to each other. Like, when I'm looking at your palette now, I can't tell the difference between 3 of the creamy whites. But I think it's the 3 that I'm getting mixed up. It'd be this one, and possibly this one. Oh, the color mapping? Yeah, so like how I've seen people do it, what they'll do is like, they say, okay, well, I'm going to fail at this because I've never done it before, but okay, this is my main color. And then when it's under light, it goes to this color, you know, if it's, and then when it's under shadow, it goes to this color. And then when it's under more shadow, it goes to this color, which I'm not doing a good job here. That's the same color. And then they would keep going. So then you can use this to kind of guide your decisions and say, okay, these are the, you know, this is the color more light on it, it goes this way, more in shadow, it goes this way, and then you map out all your colors. Man, that's what I'm saying. If you go to AAP6, that's why I use the AAP64 so much. Yeah, so I don't know if you've ever seen this. I'm just gonna pull it up. I was about to say, you've taken art classes, so you probably know all about it, Cactar. Let me get a second. AA. Where is their 64? Radiant Plus, Petite, Majestic, Splendor. 64, there we go. Here you go, let me show you. See, I do the same thing where I just like, oh, just go darker and then darker. But then I find myself like backed into a corner with a limited palette when working with a limited palette. All right, so here. Well, what the hell? I can't pull it, I can't. Here we go. Oh, this isn't it either. Actually, it was so useful for me. I downloaded it. I may be able to find it. Of course, it's not on there now. Anyways, they have this one. I don't know where it's at now. Let me see. Actually, I could probably Google it. AAP64 color mapping. This? Yeah, here we go. So a few things that they did was you can see there. This right here. Saved my butt when we were working on Inky. So this right, they like actually showed, okay, hey, if you're using skin, this is the colors to use for that. And then the color fade chart here, they again show like, okay, if you go lighter, you go darker. It was so helpful. So helpful. I need someone to make this for everything. But I guess if I just sat down with any palette, I could do it on my own. You know, if I just sat there and thought, I'm just lazy and colors are hard. Yeah, that's why I'm addicted to that palette. That's why I always go for this, you know, this person's palettes, because I got stuff like this. It's not so much the colors, it's just this is helpful. right? Yeah, this is totally up your alley. Yeah, I'm going back and see. I had the chat covered Cactar. Yeah, the GBR challenge with the 4 colors limit. Yeah, for sure. So that's why I always try to. One of the reasons why I don't ever make my own colors is for a couple of reasons. When I first started doing art for Inky, um, I would do that. I'd be like, oh, this color isn't quite right. Let me just tweak it rather than use something from the palette. And what ended up happening was then I had way more colors than what we could have um, for the GBA. And then we were like, oh, Sean had to write something to actually count the colors and then tell me like where I used the wrong color. You will be the master of all the colors. Next time I see you are dying for sure. Good night. I'm heading out too. Cactar, I'm so glad to see you. Glad you're doing well. Hope your new place is great. With solid Wi-Fi. Alright, man. Have a good night. You gotta start doing the challenges with us, Cactar. You can do it. Show us up. I totally read it. All right, oh, and then before I go, I got to do the things. So, if you are watching and you're into GBA games, we're making a game for the GBA. This will be our second game that we've done for the GBA. If you look at the description and the video, you'll see links to other games that we've made, as well as our Kickstarter, which we have a Kickstarter pre-launch page. So, because we're sharing all of this from the get-go, so it'll be a little bit before we launch it, but make sure to click that notify me on launch button, because that helps us know how many people are actually interested in the game. All right, this was fun. This was actually really productive today. GBA for life. Y'all brought me some good energy. I appreciate it. I needed it. Hope everyone has a really awesome day and evening, depending on what time it is where you're at.